Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you see this. My name is Mario Ortiz, and I'm part of your Communication 1311 Summer 2 class. And my topic for my presentation was what climate change does, like how it affects crop production. Now, to start off my presentation, I wanted to give an example of what I'm talking about, which is Asia's Indo-Gangetic Plain. This area of Asia produces about 15% of the world's wheat. It produces that much, and it's been believed that by 2050 that the percentage of wheat like that they will make will be about a little over half. So roughly, we'll say that by 2050, that about 8% of the wheat is going to be 8% of is going to produce 8% of the wheat, while the other 7 of the 15 is probably just it's not going to make it through heat stress, water stress, cold stress. It's all really based on climate. And why is this really how is this why is this significant? Well, climate change occurs everywhere. Like and it reduces the amount of food we can make due to crops not being able to handle certain temperatures. And I'm gonna focus mainly on increases in the temperature rather than decreases, since in the Rio Grande Valley we reached about a little above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So really, we know more about heat than the cold. And heat stress is actually one of the main causes of why crops they don't survive the whole planting and harvesting process. They just can't handle the heat as well as other crops do. And now, sorry, excuse me, I have index cards like you mentioned. It's hard to remember every little fact. Now, why would this is credible? Because I've researched a lot, and I've read lots of academic articles, as well as found lots of websites revolving around the effects of climate change on the planet, whether it is through my topic, crops, or whether it's through temperature increases, or how we may our way of living by a certain time. And also my mom, she loves to plant. I wouldn't say she's a gardener, but she loves to plant. And you see, she likes to make this place like a jungle or something. And she understands when this plant didn't make it, it's because it didn't get enough water, or it's too hot, it got too much sun. She understands the basics of it. So I can being her son, I can see why climate could be a big issue. And also, my mom planted a papaya and an orange tree, and they aren't doing as well as they are now, which is over 100 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, as they would do at the 80s or 90s during the spring, or even the fall. Now, what's my goal of this presentation? It's to introduce people the ways of how to minimize the damage caused by climate change. And we all know that a reduction of crop isn't good, because in a way increases hunger. I just want to go into that because less food, you're only able to feed less mouths. I just want to go over that because it's one of those things you never really think about, but you just gotta think about it. And now you see what climate change does on the national level. Based on a book called Agriculture, Ecosystems, and Environment, this is the 179th volume. I had to make it specific in case, because you just gotta be specific at times. And then it states that climate will affect biodiversity, soil fauna, and microbial activity, and can greatly influence productivity of cropping systems. And this is from Smith et al. On the year of 2013. I didn't include the other authors because there was just so many of them, and in APA format you gotta put et al. So if I had enough time to go over this, I would. Now, Now another like source for it. It's the same actually. It's the same source. It's also by Seth et al. 2013, and he's also mentions how an increased temperature could also it kind of repeats himself, decrease crop productivity, because plants can't take the heat. A lot of them can't. We can't really plant, say, like we can't really plant rice here because it needs a lot of water. And well, I also want to mention that this was from inside the book, but the book also quoted, like, it also cited the main like people, like where they got that information from, which is Shin et al. 2013, 2012, 2011, and 2010b. Like, it's literally they all start with the same guy, but I'm assuming they all have different like contributors. So I just wanted to cut it a little shorter since it's literally his name and then the year. Now, on a local level, I found this on the Dallas Observer website, but that Texas faces major climate risk to crops if it doesn't step away from the greenhouse production path. Like, we produce a lot of greenhouse gases, but like a lot of that increased temperature, which is I'm gonna link that up to like why people speculate it causes global warming, because well, it revolves a lot about the increases in temperatures in the world. And well, now before I continue, this source was from an article called "Texas is Totally Screwed," says New Climate Change Report 2015. Not gonna lie, it's a weird title, but what can you do? Now, another local level source, which is from the Texas Tribune, the Texas Tribune website, and it says how there's no decline in both worker productivity and overall crop production, and this is from Collier 2015. And well, it's true, because usually when it's hot, you don't want to go out or and do work. Now, I'm gonna relate this to the whole immigration thing. Like, Mexicans are coming over here because they want work, but no one really thinks about how Mexico's significantly warmer in temperature than like here in America, because it's all about like the placement of where you are. Like, common knowledge, it's at the equator. It's like the closer you are, you're more humid and tropical. Like, the temperature, it's hot. Well, Mexico, it's hot. Like, I feel like a lot of us have visited before, and it's really hot. But so crops can't handle that increased heat of like recent climate changes or any given climate change in reality. And well, that's why they move up, because one, they want work, and one, they want crops to actually grow. Like, they want a significant amount. Now, as I've been going over, climate change has various effects on production, whether it's worker productivity or whether it's the survival rate of the crop. But not many people know how to predict and or handle climate change. You see, climate change, it's predicting, it's hit or miss. We don't have an accurate way of predicting it. Well, we can predict as much as we want, but it's not 100% accurate. For example, in 2003, a reporter said there would be benefits in the form of reduced cold periods, resulting in higher agriculture yields and or crop yields. But well, I got this from a website that focused mainly on failed predictions in climate, and the source is the big list of failed climate predictions, and it was sourced in 2014. And well, yeah, we all know there's always been that moment where the weather guy says, "Oh yeah, it's gonna rain tomorrow," but by tomorrow it's cloudless and it's super sunny. And so sometimes we don't have an exact system on predicting it accurately. Now alongside that, on the Al Jazeera website, I had to read it because it's one of those you have to pronounce correctly. And it says here that climate change will lead to air conditions getting drier, with the same effect with weather conditions getting wetter. And well, it also says it would be more difficult to predict climate change in the future since it's changing rapidly. And this is from Big Facts on Climate Change, Agriculture, and Food Security. And there was no date on the website, so I can't cite the exact date. And well, about that, climate change, climate change, it affects places. It does make drier places drier. Imagine cactuses in deserts, they're used to it, but if it gets even drier, it'll make it harder for them to survive because there won't be as much water as they may be used to. And well, it's the same with like rice. I'm gonna mention it again. Rice, it takes a while to, well, it needs lots of water to survive. But if it gets too much water, it could, in a way, drown. Like it would suffocate from too much water. Like lots of people, like in Texas, water their plants too much, and they don't realize that it kills them because they just have too much water that they can't handle. Now, it is obvious that people don't really know how to like predict. Well, it's obvious that climate change is a major factor that needs a solution. Like we need to figure out a way to minimize the damage done by it, and well, and I propose that we reduce the damage by being knowledgeable on the crop's preferences, like what exactly they need to thrive, and as well as being more vigilant when it comes to like knowing how the climate is going to change. For being vigilant, I put that we should keep a closer on weather reports. Yes, I mentioned before that they're not completely accurate, but at the moment they're our most accurate way of like predicting climate change at the moment. Like if you're a scientist, you probably have more accurate ways, but for like the common people, it's all you really got is the weather reports. So honestly, they're our best bets. But like if you keep an eye on it, you can probably prepare to grow crops, and they could fare better than they would in such a different temperature. And well, I mentioned how it's our most accurate at the moment. Technology is constantly evolving, so it wouldn't be surprised if in the near future that we've developed something that can accurately predict climate change, so that we can keep the amount of crops at an all-time high. Now, for researching like the appropriate needs of the crops, like I mentioned numerous times, rice, it needs a lot of water. You can't just plant it, say, in a country like Egypt or Saudi Arabia unless it's somewhere near a water source. But those places are mostly dry. So that's why if rice, at least from my know, it grows around, it probably goes around the world, but I mostly know it as around Eastern Asia, like Japan and China. And if I recall from images I've seen when I was younger in school, like they were like grown in water, and the farmers would have to go in the water to like pick them, so they could pick them up, and then so it's always surrounded by water, so because it needs a ton of water, and then also the heat. You've seen Chinese or Japanese farmers with like the straw hats, right? Well, they use that to block out the sun because it's super sunny, like it causes that heat. And well, the rice, they fare well with it, but sometimes they might take too much water or too much heat, and it can ruin the harvest. And well, I didn't mention this earlier. I probably should have, but climate change, we all know it affects temperature, but it also affects the amount of rain, which we went over with the whole drier places getting drier, wetter places getting wetter. It can affect whether this place is going to get a ton more rain or less rain. So you just got to keep an eye on that, and also keep watch on what the crops really need to survive. Now in conclusion, I think people should learn ways on how to minimize the reduction of the crop yield by using said weather reports and looking at the appropriate needs of the crops they plan on planting. Now, to summarize the whole issue, people don't know much about the effects of it, the other effects other than the whole temperature increase, and they don't really know how to predict, like to handle / predict it accurately. And well, I go over saying how weather reports and knowing what crops need to survive as suitable ways to at least reduce the issue until technology gets developed enough to accurately predict, so we can evade any unpleasant temperature increases and or decreases. Also, now, sure we can't change the weather as much as we like to, but a quote by Jimmy Dean that really fits this idea and his quote was, "I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination." Sure, we cannot change the weather, but we can adjust our set sails in order to like try to reach our goal, like our goal of growing the crops. Now, I hope that from everyone watching, I want them to change their sails so we could fare better as growing crops. Thank you for watching, and well, I hope you enjoyed.